Welcome to today's morning power up call. It's going to be a fun one. As always, let's go ahead and go through announcements real quick. So, we've got a recording of a copy review call I did yesterday that's uploaded now into the general resources section. Really good one for you guys to go look at. I cover a lot of the big questions people have, like how many outreaches should I do a day? How should I test this kind of stuff? That just happened to come up in the Q&A. We go over a lot of important things about how to improve the quality of your copy. If you want to boost your marketing IQ, definitely go take a look at those recordings. They're going to make a huge impact on your ability to learn this stuff. If you can show up live, that's better. It's way better to be live. I did something a little bit different on this last one than normal. So I try and innovate. I try and keep these things fun and interesting and change them up. So if you haven't attended these live calls or watched the replays, try and make it happen. I know it's kind of a weird time for some of you guys, in Europe or Asia. It's like the middle of the night, but like if you can make it to it live, it's usually worth it. Now today we're going to be doing a copy breakdown, right? Like I'm going to be doing a live call later this afternoon, about 5 hours from now or so. I'm going to do a live call where I break down a classic piece of copy, show you guys some of the behind the scenes things that have happened to create that copy and how John Carlton was approaching this sort of stuff. Huge opportunity for you guys to improve your marketing IQ. If you want to be doing the bigger projects, the sales pages, the video sales letters, all that stuff, you're going to want to show up to one of these kind of calls that I'm going to be doing today, starting today. This is the first one I've done campus wide. I've done a few of these with just the experienced guys before. They've been awesome. Great opportunity to see cool things. But this is going to be a cool chance for everybody in the campus to hop on and get some in-depth, advanced marketing persuasion tactics as sort of your continuing education side of the course. I know you go through the boot camp, you watch a few of the videos I have here, and you learn some basics. But if you want to be good at copywriting, you want to be continually investing and improving your marketing IQ. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys the deepest, coolest stuff I possibly can moving forward. So you want to attend these calls. So housekeeping out of the way. Those are the announcements. We talked about those. Now let's talk about the main content here. Let's talk about the main lessons. Before, let me check. Yeah, so we've got the chat is up and running. The audio looks like it's working. No one's complaining about no audio, so we can dive into the actual lessons. So let's talk about the key principle for today, the key thing I want to share with you guys. Now, this hasn't come up specifically from anything individual that anyone said inside of the chat. This isn't based off of one particular response, but this is a topic I feel really strongly about talking with you guys about. I've seen its effects play out across the chats. I've seen little clues that this is an issue that some of you are struggling with, and I want to talk about it, right? So I like to think that all of us as humans have what I call a life force, like this energy that we have. Like we wake up, we put our life and energy and time, and I call it brain calories and all this stuff. I used to kind of talk about like this life energy that we all have. And we all have it, and we get a certain amount of it, and we can spark more of it through eating better and living healthier and doing different things. There's ways we can spark and trigger this life force, but we all spend our life force, and we kind of invest our life force into things. And I see the world, so much of the modern world is designed to be a trap for that life force, and specifically the life force of young men, right? Like young men like are the force of the world, right? And like it's the tide that burns and creates nations, right? You've got to control it, and the easiest way to control it is just to get it stuck in these different traps. And today I'm going to be talking about what these traps are and how to identify them. And some of them are sneaky. Some of these traps are crazy sneaky. The problem is if you fall for any of these traps, what happens is you end up spending all this life energy on traps, and you don't get to spend on the thing that actually improves your life and gives you what you want. So a lot of people, they want to move forward and be successful, but they get caught in these traps and stops them from being successful until they can figure it out, if they can figure it out before it's too late. So let's talk about these ideas. Let me just double check the chat, double the power. Yeah, we're good. We're here. We're good to go. Yeah, I got the 2 katanas today. Felt like a 2 katana day. So let's talk about the life force. The easiest way for you to think of this, at least for me, is that it's like a giant river, right? As a man, you are on this giant river, this coursing fast river of life. When I was a kid, I would spend a lot of my summers up in Arkansas. I'd go with my uncle. We'd go up to Arkansas, and we'd spend times up at Arkansas is this part in like Central America, but it's got, or central part of the United States, but it's got this mountain range called the Ozarks, and they're gorgeous. Probably one of the most underrated states in the United States. Arkansas has amazing outdoor opportunity out there in the Ozark Mountains, these beautiful mountains, awesome rivers. And we would go whitewater kayaking out there and go fishing and have a good time out there on these rivers in Arkansas. Awesome opportunity. I went one time. I grew an inch in a week out there on one of these trips. It was awesome, cool trip. But there was these rivers you'd ride on, right? You'd be in your kayak, and there's this middle part of the river that just is like booking it towards the ocean, right? Just like the river, like it's going super, super fast, right? And off to the side, there would be these little eddies, right? So like the water would go, and if it stayed on the middle, it would stay fast. But if it got diverted by a rock, or you took the wrong path and kind of hopped over to this other part of the river, there'd be this little spot where it would just kind of swirl around, and you'd kind of get stuck in the spot for a while. And then eventually, maybe if you were lucky, that water would find its way back into the main course. If you threw like a stick over there, you would just see it just kind of spin and see it get stuck over there. And I view life a lot the same way, right? Like we are all, as man, we have this drive pushing us forward to conquer and do great things in our lives, become amazing men, and live a wonderful, positive life, not just for ourselves, but for everyone else in our lives, right? Like that's what's driving us forward. But that's dangerous, right? Like that's a powerful thing. Rivers are dangerous. So there's these little traps that the powers that be. I'm not going to get into any kind of crazy in-depth conspiracy theory stuff here. I'm not going to talk about anything in too much depth, but there are these little things in life. If you notice, it's where all like the slave thinking people get trapped, right? And usually the funny thing is they usually kind of leverage or just are a degree or two off from that main course. They're usually things that take that initial urge and drive that you have as a man and just sort of distract it off into an unproductive eddy just by a few degrees, right? So that's why they're so insidious, right? Obviously there are things you shouldn't do, like you shouldn't jump in front of a train because that will kill you, so you don't do that because it's stupid, right? But there are things that are just a few degrees off from that main drive that can suck you in because they're sneaky like that. For example, as a man, you were designed for competition, you were designed for conflict, you were designed for war, let's say. Now there's something that's just a few degrees off from that, that's in that same direction. It's a step in that same direction. And that's like Call of Duty or video games, right? Which is an abstraction of war, which is still kind of like you're playing the game, but it's just a little bit different. The only problem is it's unproductive. It doesn't lead you to anything good in your life. It's just a little eddy that takes that natural instinct that you have, and it corrupts it and poisons it and traps you over here to where you're waking up. I know people that play video games and they stay up all night. They play video games. They don't sleep. They wake up in the morning. The first thing they think about is how they can get back to playing their video games, and they get stuck. Their entire life force, decades of their life, dumped into this unproductive little eddy where they could be coursing down the river towards the thing they want, but no, they've been sucked away into this little trap, right? So that's one example. You look at other things, right? There are guys who and you see this with women a lot, right? You get guys that get stuck off into porn, which is absolutely just a trap for people, right? Guys that are sitting there compulsively jacking off to porn are just stuck in this hole where they're literally giving their life force to nothing, to an empty nothingness. All that energy that could be put forward towards building a positive relationship with a woman or women or however you want to live your life is diverted and given into nothing. It's a trap to keep you down, right? There's that. You look at even, for example, look at fitness training and bodybuilding, right? You have guys working and dedicating 8, 9, 10 hours of their life to just getting as giant and big as possible, right? Which, if that's your thing, then that's your thing. But like, if you look at it, like it doesn't actually help you move forward that much. Like if you are a regular average guy and you're trying to look like Schwarzenegger, right? It's not. It's a pool where you are spending all of your time and energy over here in one part of your life that's keeping you, and it's not actually translating to full power, right? You have to balance it out. Obviously, you should train. Obviously, you should become physically capable. Obviously, you should be healthy and in good shape and high energy. That's important, and that's part of this coursing river that takes you towards personal perfection and greater power, greater happiness in your life. But you've got to avoid these little traps, right? Then there's the consumption of things, right? There are different substances that you can consume that will just get you stuck, right? You see guys that fall into the alcohol consumption cycle where they just get completely dependent on it, right? Now, there's one thing, it's one thing to indulge every so often and enjoy it in a party in a controlled environment. But when people become in, you can see how, like, if you're not careful, these things that are like that are in the course of like leading you to absolute masculine power, your life force, right, can be easily diverted and corrupted into a trap that leads to no productive end, right? The whole world is like this. The whole world is like this. You look at it like with just regular relationships with women. So many guys fall, like you see guys who want to have a powerful, like dynamic relationship with a woman. They get a girlfriend and then they get stuck in a trap of like simping, right? You see this in the world, right? It's an example of how humanity or men can fall into traps where their life force gets sucked away, right? It's up to you as a man to take control. And again, kind of like what we talked about on yesterday's call, detach from the situation enough to where you can look down, look at your life, look at the river of your life, and see what parts of your life you've gotten caught into traps of, right? Consuming videos on YouTube, consuming videos on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, right? Okay, those are just pulls. What am I trying to do? What am I trying to move forward towards? And you can find ways to take that same drive, that same life force, instead of letting it get trapped into things that produce nothing for you, put it into time, into activities that actually improve and better your life, that are in line with the laws of the universe. Let's say, like common sense, morality, and actual like principles of masculine excellence. You can push all that time and energy, that life force, into those things, and it will benefit your life. And you will get all the false promises that these eddies make. You'll get all of those and more by putting it into the correct things, by actually doing the right thing and moving forward. And it's important for you guys to realize this. And you can always identify what's a trap and what's not based on the results that people are getting in that. And there's another way. It's a litmus test. You can almost always figure out if something is actually a trap. Is if you look at people who are engaging in that activity and you ask yourself, are they actually living an excellent, amazing life, or are they slaves? Are they just slaves to this thing? What results are they getting from pouring their life force into this? That will always tell you what you should do. And if the average person is doing it, if just the average loser in the world is doing a certain activity, you should be highly, highly suspicious of that activity, right? If some depressed, sad, unhappy person is doing it and that's their life, you should run away from that activity because it's deadly, right? There's so many traps. There's so many little traps in the world. But if you look at where they're going, if you can pop your head up and just see where those flows will take you, you'll be able to identify what you need to change or what you need to avoid in your life. I've seen too many men have their lives destroyed because they fall for one of these little traps that I've mentioned, and they miss out on the opportunity to live the high level life that you actually can if you can keep your life force pointed in the right thing. I'm going to give you an example from my life, and we can talk more about it here. Let me see. I've got someone who dropped a super chat. Let me see if it's about this. It's about the copy review. I'll get to that at the end. If you guys do super chats, I don't really like you guys doing super chats. You guys don't need to pay me to ask questions. Just ask me questions. Ask Professor Andrew channel. I'll always answer them. But if you guys throw money in here, I'll obviously answer it. But it's better just to go ask me. Ask Professor Andrew. I'll definitely answer your question there. Anyways, let me tell you an example from my own life. An eddy that I was trapped in, and how I freed myself from it. Right. So when I was a young man, I grew up in Southeast Texas. And one of the things I loved to do was I loved to read. I read so much. I read so many books. I read all sorts of fiction, nonfiction. I read like crazy, right? And obviously, I learned things from that, and I've used everything that I had from that experience of being trapped in that eddy. But I realized, and it kept with me, right? I remember some of the first times I tried to start making money, I would find myself just consumed by some fiction book because it was easier and funner than actually doing the hard work of moving forward, right? And I would read this book, and I'd realize that I was so out of control, and I was dumping all my time, all my life force into these abstractions, into these stories that didn't even really exist, when I could be investing it into my life, when I could be investing it into things that would actually improve my life and I could have gotten stronger, faster, smarter, could have earned more money, I could have done more exciting and created actual adventures and cool things for myself. But instead, I dumped all my life force into this eddy of books and stories. And there's a time and a place for books, and I talk about how to approach books and how to approach that type of stuff inside of the frequently asked questions. I have specific recommendations on how to do it. I switched my life to where I stopped reading books for fun and reading books just to preemptively, just to kind of because I thought I should, because of some problem I might have in the future, something I want to solve in the future. Instead, I poured all my time and energy into action, and I would only go and look for information and books when I ran into impediments, like specific challenges that I needed to solve. I would go find the information, bring it to my working on, use it to solve this and move forward. And it changed everything for me, right? Because all that time and energy that I had devoted to just playing around with abstractions in my mind, stories, books, and things that weren't real, I now have devoted 100% to myself and things that actually produce a result. And that's what allowed me to actually become successful and break through and make my first big wins in the world, where because I sacrificed that eddy, that eddy of my life force, that trap that didn't suck away my life force, I sacrificed it and pushed forward with my energy. All that energy now pointed towards things that would actually improve my life. So you guys in your life, everyone has an eddy. Everyone has something that like an eddy, like a little trap of your life force. Everyone has something where you're pouring your life force into something that's not giving you any return. Identify it, find it. You probably can think of it right now as you're sitting here on this call. You know what it is deep down. Find a way to fix that and get yourself back on the stream. Get yourself back onto the true, actual, like invest your time and energy into things that are actually going to benefit you and actually improve your life. Now, I'm not saying be a robot and never ever have fun, ever never do anything for enjoyment sake, never travel, never do anything like that. I'm not saying that. You absolutely have to create amazing stories. You have to do adventures. You have to do things. You have to spend time with people and have relationships with others. You have to. There's a time and a place for some level of entertainment and stories and books. Like they have a place in your life, right? But you need to make sure that they don't come at the expense and they're not a trap that keeps you from investing your life force in things that are going to improve your life. It's absolutely crucial that you guys pay attention to this, that you pay attention to where your life force is going in and refocus it to things that will give you what you truly want. Because those traps, those abstractions are all lies. They promise you the end result, but they give you nothing, right? They steal your life force like a battery in the matrix. Avoid them. They do not serve you. Find ways to move forward positively in your own life. All right, guys, let's go up and take a look at this question, and we're going to answer it, and then we're going to end the call. So, Jibs asked, should I join a copy review call even if I don't have anything to offer? Also, thank you for what you do. We all appreciate you. Yes. So most of the people that are on the copy review call they're not having their copy reviewed, and they don't like provide insight on the things that we're looking at. They mostly learn. They'll ask me questions, right? So they show up and they see how I'm analyzing the copy. They see how I'm breaking out stuff, and they use that same system, that same analysis on their own stuff. So they go back and ask themselves the same questions about their copy that I'm asking about that guy's copy. So that's the first part of it, right? Also, it's just a great chance to learn. I open the Q&A as we go through, so I'll break down someone's copy. And at the end of, like, let's say we break down some guy's email. At the end of it, I'll say, okay, does anybody have any questions about any of the principles we talked about with John's email, right? And then 3 or 4 people will hop on. They'll ask some clarifying questions or ask about how they can apply it, and I'll answer those. So it's a good chance to get some interaction with me and figure out how to apply that stuff. I also do a general Q&A at the end. So even if you don't have copy to review or you don't feel like you have a lot of insight to bring to the table, it's totally fine. You're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to get a lot of things that you can take and immediately apply to the copy that you're doing, right? Especially for like the review call we're going to do today, where we're reviewing a classic piece of copy from one of the greatest copywriters of all time. We're just going to go there. We're going to learn stuff. Things will spark. You'll see new ideas. You'll connect new dots this way. But you're not going to be like bringing a lot of insight to the call. We're mostly, all of us are just taking insight from this one. So yeah, definitely attend it. However, wherever you are in the program, no matter if you're just starting the boot camp, you finish the boot camp, you're in the experience chat, you definitely want to attend these calls because there's something there for everybody. My friends, this has been a good call. This has been a good chance for me to talk about this. I see you guys in your struggle to become greater and stronger men. I know what it's like. I know what some of those obstacles are like. I know some of the changes you have to go through as a person. I'm here to save you time, and I'm here to save you heartache, and I'm here to give you a faster path. I'm here to help you get out of those eddies, get onto that path, and progress faster with as little roadblocks and friction and frustration as possible. Obviously, you're still going to have to do the work. You're still going to have to take what I give you and work really, really hard and invest that time and life energy in a way that's going to, you have to give it. You have to invest it into that thing, that mechanism in the world that's going to give you what you want. But I'm telling you guys, if you do that, if you can focus on the right thing, you're going to get amazing results from that, because most people fall for traps. And if you can become the guy who doesn't fall for traps, you've increased your speed 100x, 200x compared to your average, my friend. So, my friends, it's been a good call. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow on our next Power Up call. If you're at the live, if you're going to be signing up for the live call, again, it's inside of the announcements channel. Just go there for all the links and stuff like that. I will see you guys in a few hours. It's been a good call. I'll talk with you guys again later today or tomorrow. Take care.